We're joined this morning by Sergeant Scott Haynes, an investigator with the Santa Rosa County, Florida Sheriff's Office, and by Tom Britt, a friend and neighbor of Marcus Schrenker from Indiana. Gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for taking the time this morning.
Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
Tom, let me begin with you. Clearly, these are the actions of a desperate man, and I know that you have reason to believe that Marcus is growing even more desperate. Can you tell us about the email you got last night?
Yeah, at about 7:28 last night, I was at my computer, my home command center, and I got an email from Marcus. And it basically, I can't go into the details of the email, but it was basically him wanting me to set the record straight for him and kind of let people know the other side of the story.
Tom Britt is that friend of Marcus Schrenker's. Tom, good morning to you. More of a business friend, right, than a personal friend, but you've known him for several years.
Well, we live in the same hood. We live around Geist Reservoir, and so you kind of get to know people. It's a small community, and Marcus bubbled up a few years ago as a good friend of mine.
It says, "Dear Tom, you are the only person I am going to contact, and I hope you will set the record straight." Why did he pick you to tell his story?
I don't know. I think I've always given Marcus the benefit of the doubt, and I think that's why we had such a good relationship, because I wouldn't let those stories interfere with my relationship with him. But secondly, I was the closest thing to a news outlet that he had or knew, and I think he entrusted me to try to get his story out as best I could.
Joined by Tom Britt, Marcus Schrenker's neighbor and colleague. He received the email from Schrenker after he went missing, saying that it was all a misunderstanding and that he feared he would soon be dead. Let me take back a little. How do you know him?
Well, he lived in Geist Reservoir. He's not too far from me. About $3.5 million away from my house is where I live.
They traced where he was through the email?
That's what I'm hearing.
Did you turn it over to someone?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as soon as I got it, I called the police, forwarded it to the marshals who were investigating the crime scene. And it's just ironic that he sent a note to try to blow some smoke off his trail, and ended up coming around and tracing him back to where he was.
Hang with us, Tom. Tom will come back.
When Flying High at Cocktail Cove continues. As Monday morning dawned, Indianapolis TV reporter Chris Proffitt heard about the crash in Florida. He called Tom Britt, the man who runs the local newsletter.
I said, "Do you know that Marcus Schrenker's plane went down in northwest Florida last night?"
I knew something was up. My immediate radar went up and said, there's something going on.
He goes, "Chris, he would fake his death, and I'm positive of it."
Tom Britt, who runs the popular Geist area newsletter and website, knew the Schrenkers and liked Marcus.
You heard from his neighbors and people lived across the street about what was going on, and it was just hard to believe it didn't sync up with the guy that I knew. There's a lot of stories, and they're urban legends, but you hear so many of them, you have to believe at least one of them is true. And if any one of them are true, you just think this guy's crazy.
He rented office space at this building near his home. Tom Britt runs the local newsletter.
A couple years ago, he had an argument with then his landlord. The next day, the guy wakes up and he goes out to his dock, and his boat isn't there, and he gets a call from the fire department saying that there was a boat registered to him that had gone over the dam and had crashed. And nobody could ever pin it on Marcus.
Heritage Wealth Management soon got a new name, and Marcus called the man who runs the widely read newsletter covering the Geist area.
He contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm going to go through this rebranding, and I want to get your input on it, and I want to get your help." And I thought, I might get an advertiser out of it.
And he did. Look at this, a 4-page